Night gathered over the Jordan plain, and the city lights of Sodom crackled like embers scattered on black glass. The gates were busy with voices bargaining, carts creaking, and the weary laughter of men used to the cost of their gains. Lot sat near the entrance, as he often did, scanning the road where travelers came down from the hills. Hospitality there was not decoration, but a law older than walls. The stranger at your door became your charge, and his safety became your name. So when two figures stepped out of the dusk, ordinary to look at, yet carrying a steadiness that drew the eye, Lot rose and bowed. He urged them away from the square, begged them to come under his roof, to wash their feet and eat warm bread. They demurred with a phrase pilgrims often used. "We will spend the night in the square." Lot pressed harder, a tremor in his insistence. He knew his city the way a shepherd knows his flock. He knew what happened to the unprotected after dark. They came with him. His wife kneaded dough, his daughters fetched water, and the house warmed with the scent of loaves and decent talk. For an hour, perhaps two, the city's noise fell to background, as if propriety could set a thin lid on a boiling pot. Then the banging started, first one fist on wood, then many, then the heavy thud of shoulders. Voices poured through the shutters like smoke. The men of the city, young and old from every quarter, had gathered outside the door. A verdict followed: "Bring them out to us, that we may know them." It carried more than curiosity, acquisition. It was the desire to turn guests into trophies, to make the stranger's body a notice. The city owns you. Lot stepped into the threshold and pulled the door behind him. "Do not do this evil, my brothers," he said. "These men have come under the shadow of my roof." In a world of thin roofs and sudden storms, to be under a man's roof meant covenant shaped like shelter. He spoke quickly. He offered compromises that sound monstrous to the ears of quieter times, proof that the mind grows small when fear enlarges. But the crowd did not want bargains. It wanted spectacle. It called for Lot to stand aside and accused him of judging the city he lived in. "We will treat you worse than them," someone shouted. The crowd surged. Hands came forward like hooks. The door strained against hinges that knew nothing of mercy. Inside, the guests moved. What had seemed ordinary eyes now shone like coals in a wind. Hands reached from the dark, pulled Lot back, and shut the door with a sound like judgment. The men outside were struck with blindness, some sudden dusk that turned the street into a room with no walls. They clawed at the air, fumbling for a latch they had opened without asking 100 times. None of them found it. Inside, voices were quiet, clear, urgent. "Have you anyone else here? Sons, daughters, sons-in-law, any who belong to you in the city, bring them out of this place. For we are about to destroy it, because the outcry against this city has grown great before the Lord." The sentence was not about one night alone, but years. The way power learned to speak with boots, guests became prey, and the poor became furniture. Lot ran into alleys to find the men pledged to his daughters. He spoke breathlessly, a man trying to explain a storm to those laughing at the first drops. "Up, get out, for the Lord is about to destroy the city." They saw a father-in-law, not a messenger. They heard tone, not news. They thought he was joking. Dawn sharpened roofs. The city still smoked from midnight's anger, but now it simmered under morning's indifference. Lot returned empty-handed. The visitors did not wait. "Take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, lest you be swept away." Lot hesitated, the way people always do when the life they know is both a prison and a chair with one warm spot. They seized his hand, and his family's, urgent with compassion, and set them outside the city. "Flee," they said. "Do not look back. Do not stop in the plain. Escape to the hills." Lot argued for a nearer refuge, a little town with a little name. The mercy did not snap. It bent. "Very well. Escape there." The sun lifted, and the family moved. Behind them, judgment arrived. Fire and sulfur fell from the sky, bursts of light striking roofs, heat punching windows, streets curling like paper. What had been loud with commerce and threat became a kiln. The plain that once looked like Egypt now looked like a field that had forgotten rain. Lot's wife turned. Perhaps she thought of a jar left on a shelf, or her daughter's beds in morning light, or simply because the noise behind her had the gravity of a name in grief. Do not look back, the command had said, not because memory is forbidden, but because some memories, faced full, can calcify a soul. The text says she became a pillar of salt. Whether body or state, it is a monument to the cost of divided loyalties. By the time warning reached the little town, the blaze had rewritten the horizon. Smoke climbed like a second city building itself upside down. Lot sat with his face in his hands, as men do when the future is a cliff with only air beyond. His daughters watched him and the road and said nothing. The guests, who had been ordinary to the eye, were nowhere to be seen. Their work was done. The world was ash, and escape was narrow. The family moved to the hills after all. The town could not hold their fear. The cave they found was not a home, but it was a place to keep breathing. Sodom sent no search parties. The story is heavy, and the modern reader feels the weight in different places. Some hear the attempted rape and see a pattern across centuries. Violence as law, bodies as messages, strangers as warnings. Some stumble over Lot's terrible offer, proof the well-intentioned can be twisted by their culture. Some look at the fire from heaven and wonder if judgment can be anything but cruelty. Yet the text returns to one thread. A cry rises, a response comes, and between them stands hospitality, a fierce covenant insisting a guest is not prey and a roof is not a rumor. If you listen closely, you can hear the story speak warnings beyond geography. Cities become Sodom when the stranger is a toy. Communities become Sodom when the powerful treat thresholds as stages for dominance, when doors exist only to be kicked in. A neighborhood that laughs at alarm takes its first step toward ash. And households become Lot's house when fear narrows imagination until sin looks like safety. Blindness fell like mercy and a mirror. Men who unsaw others' humanity found themselves unable to see it all. Buried in the blaze is a promise Scripture will not quit. It appears as early as Abraham's bargaining on the plain. What if there are 10 righteous? And in the grip on Lot's wrist, rescue reaching into a doomed place to walk a family out before the roof falls. Later, a prophet names Sodom's sins: pride, excess, carelessness toward the poor. The door was the hot edge of a long, cold pattern. Judgment here is not tantrum, but a ceiling falling after years of smoke in the walls. Mercy does not erase justice. It moves through it, saving those who take its hand. Stand again at the threshold. Hear fists, the demand for the guests. See a man trying to be faithful with a mind cornered by fear. See 2 figures whose ordinariness hides fire. Hear the blindness drop like a curtain. Smell dawn air, sharp with sulfur and silence. Watch the family moving, shoulders hunched against a rain that burns. Listen for the sentence that opens a path. Do not look back. If you glance back, let it be not for ruins, but for the memory of a door held shut against a crowd, a promise that roofs mean refuge, and a warning that any city can forget this and call it normal. Thank you for listening to Divine Crime. Subscribe for more true stories from the most dangerous book ever written.